Now I'm still using my Garmin Fenix 8. Yes, even with the navigation issues I was talking about in my last video. Garmin haven't fixed it yet, but I've found some ways that I've been able to make this little issue work in my normal use case. And today I'm going to share exactly what I've been doing. Hopefully it'll be able to help you as well. Now, if you missed that video, here's the very brief 1-minute version. Street level turn-by-turn navigation just isn't consistent. Prompts can be delayed, recalculation is very slow, that's if it chooses to work, and in busy urban areas, the places where I tend to go and need to be able to navigate around, well, let's just say it's less than confidence inspiring. Now, I could just ditch this thing for my phone or another device altogether, but here's the thing. For most of my runs, my mountain bike rides and my training sessions, it does what I need it to do. It's that last little bit that it just doesn't work properly, and that's where I'm having to compromise on things, for the moment. Not only am I making some compromises here, but there's also one thing that I hadn't thought of, and I had a comment on my last video which was bang on. I'm going to read it to you now. It actually says, for navigation, it's worth mentioning that calculations are made on the watch, not on the servers. So if you're outside the city with limited cellular, for example, that could be a lifesaver, especially that you can see the paths, etc. I hadn't thought about this. I wondered why it was always, every single time, taking so long to load up the route that I'd already set up through Garmin Explore. Now I understand that it's not just mirroring what my app has set up. It's been sent the coordinates, and then the watch itself is having to recalculate and work out the route on here. I didn't realise that. So valid point, and there's definitely something to keep in mind when moving forwards on this. Okay, so I'm kind of using 4 different, slightly subtle, various workarounds for this, and like I said, hopefully this will help you, and if it does, let me know below. So the first one is the route, when it's finally calculated, it will leave a trail for you to follow. My frustration with that was if I deviated from that route because I wanted to go and look at something else, it wouldn't then recalculate from where I was to where I'd been going to in the first place. So I'm having to backtrack where I've been and get back onto the marked route, and then I'm just making sure, a glance at my wrist, I'm sticking to that route and I'm following it. It doesn't allow for that route recalculation thing where you deviate from the planned route, but it's a bit of an old school way of doing it, but it seems to be working okay. And yeah, I just check that I'm on that line and just follow that for the moment. So that's workaround number 1. Workaround number 2? Workaround number 2 is if I know where I'm going to be and I know that I need to be able to get from point A to point B, I will pre-plan and create that route beforehand. And if there's tricky junctions or turn points or something like that where things maybe aren't so clear, or perhaps with built up buildings and the GPS just goes a bit wonky, because it can do, I'll put in some actual waypoints into that route so that it will buzz on my wrist, and then I know where to turn or where not to turn. So even if the map data isn't perfect, I've still got that physical or tactile notification on what I need to be doing. And number 3, again, if I'm going to be away from an area that I don't know, then chances are I'm always going to have this in my pocket or something like that. So the Fenix can handle like the actual on the wrist stuff, and then I know I've got my phone as a backup, so I would absolutely encourage you have your phone there as that backup. So the 4th thing that I'm kind of doing to make this a little bit better is I'm taking what the watch is doing and also what I've got pre-planned or worked out on the Garmin Explore app, so that if my watch does go full wonk and stops working properly, which it has done, then I've always got that map that I've created on my phone, and I can just quickly pop in there and do that. So that's point number 4 is kind of a blend of number 2 and 3, but I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to achieve here. A couple of little extra things that I'm doing as well that seem to be working okay, and that is when I've got the map up on the watch, I'll unlock the screen, I'll come to that in a second, I'll unlock the screen and I'll zoom in a little bit more if I'm in that built up urban environment, just so I can see a little bit more detail. I don't need to be able to see loads far in advance. So yeah, unlock that screen, zoom into it a little bit, and then let that screen relock. Now, why do I lock the screen? Well, nothing worse than something brushing against it or accidentally touching the screen somewhere and it pinging the map off. So I'd encourage you, make sure that auto screen lock is on. That's been a lifesaver for me. And while we're talking about zooming in a little bit, turn off the auto zoom, because I don't want that thing zooming in or out based on where I am or how far away I am from things. I'm in control of it. I've got it set how I want it to work. And then again, we come back to that planning the route beforehand. Double, triple check the route that I've planned, so I've got a vague idea of where I need to be going when I'm in an area I don't know, so that if all else fails, I've got half a chance of getting to where I need to be. So some useful little bits and pieces that I've bolted on. Again, this is all a compromise that I'm having to use for the time being in order to get around this. I don't want to, it is a problem. These are compromises that I'm having to do to get around this problem that I'm experiencing with my Fenix 8 at the moment. But if I'm struggling with this and coming across these problems, I'm not going to be the only one. So if this helps you because you've got the same problems, then that's a bonus for me. I'm having to get into a bit of a mindset shift with this thing at the minute. It is an amazing tool for tracking fitness, but the smartwatch capabilities of it are very clunky. The user interface is not the best, and it really should be. So I'm trying to think of this as an aid to navigation, not the full-blown sat nav on my wrist I was hoping it would be, and that I'd been used to when I had my Apple Watch Ultra 2. Now I understand, I'm going to come back to this kind of working the route out on the watch, not on the servers. I understand that that Apple Watch was literally just mirroring what was on the phone, but that works so well for me for what I need. And the frustrations of the two not talking to each other now, and I understand, why would they? They're, you know, competing in the same market. So why would Apple say, yeah, sure, you can have this and it will copy across absolutely fine? I understand that. So I have to get into that mindset shift for the time being, at least until that Apple Watch Ultra 3 arrives. So is this thing perfect? No, far from it. It's not even close. And for a premium watch that costs the best part of £1,000 here in England, I would expect it to be better than it currently is, and I would have expected the updates that we've had since to have improved it even more. But sadly, we're not there yet. I definitely expect that turn-by-turn street level navigation to be improved upon. I think there's a vast majority of people like myself who have one of these because they like how it looks on their wrist, and they're a bit of a weekend warrior as opposed to the elite mountaineer athlete people who properly hammer the fitness side of it. But until Garmin address these things, for the moment, these little tweaks and compromises, the mindset shift, this is what's keeping me going and stopping me from getting lost, and ultimately ending that I get from where I am to where I need to be. Sometimes. Now, do you own a Garmin Fenix 8 or a different model of the Garmin? Have you got any tips that you found work really well for you? Drop those in the comments. I'd love to try them out and see if I can really get this thing dialed in as best I can. And like I said, if I'm struggling with something, definitely some of you guys are going to be struggling as well. If we can help each other out, that would be amazing. So if you own one, you got some tips and tricks, let us know below. I'll try them out, see how we go. Okay, that's enough waffle from me. If you haven't seen the first video where I was talking about this navigation issue, you can watch that by clicking this link here. When you've watched that, get outside, enjoy some fitness, click the little like, thumbs up button for this one, give it a subscribe, and as ever, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.